Alrighty, back to it. Sack health. So we're gonna keep going on this sign, kind of wrap it up. We've got to do the flat cutout letters. We've got the faces and everything, and then we got to start breaking out the parts. And I'll show you how I do all that. I did the kind of my point of view last time with the camera, kind of seeing my hands and everything. But this, I'm just going to kind of go back to the screen capture on this, so that way kind of focus more on the screen, so that we can see the parts being made and stuff like that without the buttons so much. But you kind of got the idea from the last video. So we'll just keep going on that. So with that being said, let's get after it. So what I'm going to do is next will be these flat cutouts, and then we're going to start making the parts. But what I'm going to do is just go ahead and transition these parts over to here. So that way I have those parts laid out, because you kind of want to mimic like these things here. You're going to need those later to see if there's anything that conflicts, that type of thing. Don't need it for that though, because these guys are, there you go. But these cats here though, actually, you know what? No, that guy is there. Yeah, he's there. Yeah. And then these guys here for sure. And these guys are here for sure. And there we go. All right, so now we have both of those made. Now we're going to kind of see where the letters kind of lay out and see where they need to be, where the stud holes might hit braces and stuff like that. So I call it deconflicting. We're going to kind of deconflict the sign. So again, I'm taking what I'm given from the graphics department. And then usually it is converted from curve or converted from text. It's just one big curve. You can see down in the bottom left here, it says curve on layer 1. So it is just one big curve. So what I like to do is just take that, and then, because it's white, this is why I don't use white. So right down here, I have a thing called flat cutout letter. So that's going to name that flat cutout letter. So first what I do is, since it's converted to curves, is I call it flat cutout letter. You want to rename it flat cutout letter, FCOL. That's what we call them. And then I'm going to go ahead and give it a blue outline. Come on, where's my blue outline, son? There it is. Okay, so there's blue outline, and then I make sure it has a hairline as well. So now that this thing is like what it is here, it's just one big chunk. I go ahead and hit break curves, and then I go ahead and recombine those. The ones that are like the two, separate pieces where the center gets separated. So now I can deal with each letter on its own. The reason why I do this is because you need to be able to like duplicate letters. Like these L's here are the same. So that way you can break it apart, and then you can deal with each letter separately, which is kind of what you'll want to do, rather than try to deal with the whole thing at once. So that doesn't really make much sense. So the same thing here. I'm just going to grab these guys, kind of break them apart, and then the things that have a center, recombine it. So now I have 3 objects. I'm going to call these flat cutout letters, and I'm going to give it a blue outline, and I'm going to go with nothing. I'm going to hit this right here, and it's just going to make it just sort of a blue outline like that, hollow. And then same thing here. Now, usually when I get graphics like this, we only want the overall piece, but there's going to be some shenanigans. So I'll go to like wireframe to see what's going on. So this is the part we want. It's the overall piece, but the artwork is still there. So we can strip out the artwork, make sure we're only stripping out the artwork, and then we go back to enhanced, and then that's what we got. So I'll throw a blue outline on that. And then this health, same thing. We're going to kind of clean it up, kind of break it apart. And that A needs to be recombined. There you go. I'm going to name these flat cutout letters. I'm going to name that flat cutout letter to make sure that's named. Yep. Okay. And then I'm going to give this a blue. And there we go. Empty. Okay. So now we have these kind of cleaned up. So I'm going to go ahead and get it to where it matches this overall, because remember we kind of cleaned up this box here. So what I can actually do is just I'll send this to the bottom, and I'll actually grab this box, duplicate it, and then this will be the face ready to go. So I'll group this, kind of make it disposable. And then I'll make a copy of that. And then these are the actual ones I want to use. I'll put those back. I'll group these, right? And then I'll actually take this guy, and he's actually supposed to be what, there? Yeah, kind of to the top. Yeah, that's all the way to the top. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and put that to the bottom there like that. Okay. And then ungroup. And then just get rid of that. And then this is theoretically where that should live. And so good to go. I'm going to save that. And then same thing with sac here. I'm going to put these back where they belong, right? Just find a node. So that way everything's all supposed to be where it's supposed to be. Right? And then I'll do a quick ghost mode, make sure everything's all lined up the way it's supposed to be. And then I'll send this to the bottom. And that way I can grab the frame. Right? And then I'll take this and group it. And then I'll just put it like that. And we'll ungroup that. And then we can just get rid of everything that's not supposed to be there. And that way that leaves just the flat cutout letters. Yeah, there we go. So that's all just the flat cutout letters on the actual face where it's supposed to be. Now we can go ahead and lay out everything. Basically, we lay out the studs so that way that's how it mounts. If you don't know, people playing along at home, we put holes in the back and we tap them, and then we put little studs out the back, and then they slide into corresponding holes. So we're going to put the corresponding holes onto the face, which is technically already here. So what I like to do is on something like this, you can either start with, so if you go over to Launchpad, I have 1024 AL. So this is the tap hole for an aluminum stud, and we're going to do 1024. Now you're going to want to just kind of lay these out to where it nails down the letter the best way possible. Again, we're designing this because I already asked about it. We're designing this to where these kind of glue on without the benefit of being attached from the back with like a nut or a screw. These are going to be mostly relying on glue. And let's see. Oh, got a little something here on my glasses. It's going to be mostly relying on glue, and it's going to be relying on kind of friction. But otherwise, if we had to open them up from the back, or if we had to put the attachment points on the back, we'd have to take the back off. So that's no good. Now, when we're dealing with something like this, where I have, quite a few letters or something, what I'll do is take a polyline, and then I'll turn snap to off by pushing my little button there, my thumb button. And I can just I'll just start sprinkling them where I see fit. And we can actually kind of clean this up later. Doesn't have to be like perfect right off the bat. And then I'm going to go ahead and nail this down like this. The problem with that E, I don't think I'm going to be able to get one there or not. Same thing with the A. We'll see. It's going to be kind of tight. I think the L's done. Yeah, then there's no way. I think these are too small for that. And then we're going to already have an H. So I'll skip the H. And then same thing here. These are where I think I want studs. I'm not worried about it being exact right this second. This just at least gets me there. The eyes need to be centered up anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave the eye as a single. And I'll show you that. And boom, boom, boom. Let's see. I already have a C. I already have an L. I already have an I. So we need to do an N. And we already have a C. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll grab one of these guys here, and I'm going to hit do it all down here on Mr. Goodbar, and he pops up. So you're going to grab the OG shape to copy, the original shape to copy, and then what are you copying it to? That's what you select, the copy the OG shape onto these shapes, or this shape, and you can go ahead and do apply it to all nodes. There you go. And then we can do that one more time. We can grab that OG shape, apply to all nodes. There we go. Oh, one more. Let's grab that. There we go. Now we get rid of that. We can get rid of that. All right, so now let's just see what we got to deal with here. We can go ahead and just grab that and hit center, kind of center it up. Not that it really matters. What the heck? Oh, the heart's still there. Get out of there, heart. I thought I got rid of you. So that's that. Let's grab these, kind of center them up. What I'm going to need, I know for sure, is some kind of arrow that's going to show which way's up on this, because there's sort of a possible there's an ambiguousness to it, ambiguity. So we're going to go ahead and just make like an arrow that kind of points up. There you go. Nice and easy. Now the C, obviously we don't need all of these, but if we can go there, and I kind of want to nail down like this leg boy here. So I think this is where this starts right there. That's good. And so we can get rid of that, and let's go ahead and just sort of something like that. You just want to kind of get like a tripod thing going where you sort of have 3 equal points that are sort of helping to nail it down. This A is looking pretty good. You want to be in the center of the meat there, and you kind of want to be away from any kind of, you know, especially, I mean, these are going to be aluminum. When it's acrylic, that's when it's really bad. Same thing here, kind of distance from here is good. Distance from there, that's looking all right. Especially here though. You got that, you got that, you got that. We're good to go. Save, so we're going there. The health, yeah, see, that's kind of like a little bit high there. Just want to kind of get that centered in the meat. That's pretty good. And again, right now I have snap to off. You also got to be careful. Sometimes when you're using that node system, you might accidentally, it's very easy when you're doing that polyline to kind of make multiple nodes accidentally. Like you can see how close those nodes are together. And so when you ask do it all to like put something like this on every node, they'll be secretly stacked real close to each other. So you got to kind of keep an eye out for that if you're using that tool. You got to kind of select and make sure you only have one selected. Might be a hidden boy. That's okay. It's kind of pain in the booty to tap that, but it's okay. That's good enough. We're gonna leave that there. That's okay. That's good. Yeah. See, it's kind of getting thin over here, but I still think we need that to hold it down. Same thing here. Kind of in the meat. That's good. I like that. That's okay. That's good. Good job. Kind of. Well, this is a T, so we can actually just take this and center that up. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Put that there. And we will put that there. Look at that. Okay, cool. And then we can just duplicate this guy. Now we turn snap to back on. And that way we can grab that. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit dupe check now and get that duplicate out of there. All right. So there you go. Stud layout for the letters. And then we're going to transfer that over to, do I dare even try that? Nah, it'll be all right. We're not in too bad I don't think so. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So let's do these guys, kind of help nail these down. Sometimes I'll just grab this, and if I feel like a fancy boy, I'll even them up so they're even to each other. That's not hugely important, but, you know, hey. And again, just because we're not nailing these down from the backside, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure I got plenty of studs. This guy's going to be about there. This cat's going to be, you know, I'm just kind of centering it up there. And that's going to kind of center it up there. This is looking good. Just kind of auditing everything, making sure we're looking good. That's good. Boom. Okay, now this is where I was talking about. When you do with these eyes, you're going to center that up and then duplicate and then move up one. Just happens to be an inch. That works good. So I pull an inch. I go an inch up, an inch down. Now these guys can be either way. You don't have to put an arrow. You don't have to have, accidentally whatever. You just want to, if you can make something symmetrical, go ahead and make it symmetrical. That way it just saves everyone time and grief. So that's good. A, we'll just center that up with the A. There you go. I like that. And then these guys can be a little more. And then I'll just line up this guy with this guy. That's looking good. All right, so what do we want to do with this L? We could theoretically probably get away with just 2. But, yeah, probably just 2 is fine. We'll just put one there. Kind of split it. We don't want it directly in line. Kind of, we want to like just sort of have this supported. Gives it a little more off center kind of thing going on there. Let's see if we just center it up with the sun. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see the double node happen right there? Just want to watch out for that. I'm going to select both. Make sure I only have 2 selected. Make sure I only have 2 selected. There you go. I'm going to put this guy kind of in the meat here. Boom. Kind of in the center of all this. Same thing here. Oops. Whoa. Let's see. Did we change? Yeah, 158. We're all right. Undo's your friend. Now this N can be ambiguous as well. So either make the holes completely, because you can see now where, if I do a 180 on this, it could be misconstrued. So again, you got to kind of help out your homie who's back there trying to, put this all together real quick. Doesn't really know what's up. Doesn't live in your head. He doesn't know the ideas that you did. So you can either put a thing on the back of it like that to say, hey, this is up. Or you can change one of these holes to where it's like obvious. Like, so there's no way that, you can actually, so if you did this 180, there's just no way this will work. I mean, even if you tried to do it wrong, you just can't get the holes in there. So I might do that sometimes, just kind of, but you don't want it too far up because, this helps to kind of hold down this leg, but you just kind of make it extremely, that doesn't work, and maybe move this guy over to where maybe this is in line, but this one is not in line with this. So it's just impossible to put in the wrong way, or go ahead and make an arrow or something. So, all right, so that's that. So now we're just going to copy paste, just duplicate and snap 2. There you go. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hit duplicate checker now, so we don't have to do it later. And that digs out everything I just duplicated on top of itself. Hit save. And now it's time to hit this up, and I'm going to group it. And then I'm going to snap 2 onto the nodes here, click, and that's where this is going to live. So now we get to see, of course, yeah, there's one there. Of course, there's one there. That's not too bad, though. Honestly, I don't know. What do we got? Now that I'm seeing this against 2 feet, 27 inches, do we just get rid of that brace? I think we can just get rid of that brace. It's just a box, but yeah, let's investigate that in a second here. And then we're going to go ahead and just duplicate that so we keep a record of that, and then we're going to group so we can work with it and it doesn't fall apart. And then we're just going to scooch because I just want to make sure I get on that node. There you go. Yep, of course. Right across into the bracing. Okay, yeah, this shouldn't be bad. But you never know. The guys could theoretically try to use really long studs, which we shouldn't need to. But I can see that happening. So what I'm going to do is bring this down a couple inches just to make sure I deconflict, which means I'm going to have to, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can make the post however big, but I'll just have to clarify that how much goes in and then how much is sticking out. So that way that there's no issue there. But what do we do here? We could actually just make this guy shorter, or we can just clip as needed. So I'm just going to do the clip as needed, so that way you kind of can see how to do that if you ever do need to do that. Because sometimes when we're dealing with a big sign, I end up having to like deconflict. Yeah, you have to put like a notch in this guy or something like that. Honestly, I think I might just call this guy good, because it's going to be it's just a hollow box. 16. Yeah. So this is all grouped, right? Yeah, that's grouped. So we're going to go ahead and say thank you for your service, just to make this part easier. Otherwise, like I say, you have to deconflict, and you have to like actually like clip the little braces, and then you actually have to make braces that are the separate species, because you saw how that one stud, or you move the stud. But the problem is on this letter, we would have to scoot it up here. That's not a big deal, but it's like there's already not much meat on these little letters anyway. So you kind of have to decide who wins and who doesn't. But for this, it should be fine, just the way it is there. Now, what I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to go ahead and let's do a 3/8. There's not like a set thing. It's kind of whatever you want to do. Yeah, because if I go over here, I'm going to go ahead and make this just a see-through thing so we can see what's up. Let's do half. So I'm just hitting my circle machine over there. There you go. That's good. All right, so let's just put that onto each of these that are going to be getting into that brace. That's what the magenta's for. See, that's going to be that flap. What do we do, 1.5 inches on that? Yeah, so that's going to be the 1.5 inch flap. So you can see where it's going to conflict. So we're going to go there. We're going to go there. And then just to make sure we're safe, we're going to go there. Oh, missed that guy. There we go. All right. Save. All right, so now when we go to make this part, we're going to grab this, but we're also going to grab these holes or these 1/2 inch boys, and that's going to tell us where we need to clip, and then we'll have clearance for those. So, all right, I think that's it. So we got that taken care of. So now we can start to figure out what we're going to do for skins, and then we can start laying out parts. So, yeah, so that's it. So we got that laid out. What I'm going to do is take a break, clip this off. I'm going to get a little more coffee, and then we'll pick it up. We'll start making parts.